Beats by CP3.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network. Thank you, gentlemen.
Tries to split the defense and does. Moves in. He scores! Speed between the circles for Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Your feet moving, and it starts in his own zone. He's the one that drops it back to Carlson and then goes through open space. Look, he just puts that puck to space, gets it on his skate, puts it up to his stick, and goes 5-hole on Kemper. But if he doesn't push that ever so slightly right behind the defender and Murray right there, he doesn't get past those.
Here come the Caps. Lurking left is Ovechkin. The shot short side. Instead, it's Nick Jensen, and he scores! Oh, maybe Darcy Kemper was worried about Ovechkin.
With just 3+ minutes left and you're tied 1-1. Well, the good D zone, and Nick Jensen starts as the middle side D. He jumps up, reads this play, a little give and go, and he puts it.
As best we can, here's another look at the goal by Mantha.
Well, Mantha feeling the rush right now, and he gets left all alone in front, and Kemper goes for the initial tip. He's thinking Mantha's going to tip this right away. Instead, Mantha gets it from his...
At the point as they exchange places. Kuznetsov wheels in, wrist shot, score! Second of the night for Evgeny Kuznetsov. And Washington stretches to a 2-goal lead.
Back in that house area, if you will, because no one really has a man, they just have space. And that'll...
Shot. Hard angle rebound is put in. Nick Dowd scores from right along the goal line. Off the wrister rebound from Nick Jensen.
Has been such a factor for the Washington Capitals. Peter Laviolette starts them, rewards his fourth line. Look at the traffic in front by Garnet Hathaway. Kemper comes out to play it, so in case Hathaway gets the tip, it's going to go right into his body, but then he's unable to recover as the rebound goes to his right. Bad.
Adrian Kuznetsov on the draw. And there is the long shot. And it's in for Alex Ovechkin, which you know is his ultimate goal.
Well, this is all just about a defensive zone face-off won by committee. Kuznetsov goes down on his knee. Tom Wilson.
That's right. It's Monday night. Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network. CP3 coming to you live from the lab. You see, we already got AnnaK already ready to talk some Capitals. We got a live game going on tonight. Wild second period. Caps up 6-4, intermission in between. We definitely going to talk about that. We got the Monday Night Football game on Seattle versus the Saints. Seattle's up 7-0. 10 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second quarter. And we also have a live Wizards game. They're on the road in Brooklyn. They're currently down 13. They just hit a 3, 70-57, third quarter with 3 minutes and 38 seconds left. So we got a lot of things going on right now. So we're going to jump right into it. We got a lot to cover because, on Sports OTHP, we bring you the best DC sports coverage around and sports coverage, period. Anna, how are you doing tonight? I know you didn't caught your breath after that second period. It was so crazy.
No doubt. I'll tell you, I was feeling pretty good after the first period, and then all of a sudden it was like, wait a second, we're getting a little close now. But they look much better than anticipated. I think there were a lot of fans kind of chirping on social media that they suck and this and that. I thought, hold on a sec. Like, God, people, just give them an opportunity. And then there you go with Oshie and the Hattie. It's come on, it's exciting.
It's amazing how fans, the emotion of fans, because I was watching the game at work. It was tied 1-1. I came home. Robbie had texted me, said the Caps scored 3 goals in like 7 minutes or something. And they were up 4-1. Then as soon as I come home, I turn the game on and boom, they take a penalty. Then it's 4-2. Then it's 4-3. Then it's 4-4. And Robbie messaged me like, hey, man, you might need to turn the game off because when you weren't watching, we always do that. And as soon as I was getting ready to change the channel, Ovi gets the breakaway. So then I was conflicted. Like, should I turn it? Should I leave it on? And then she got the hat trick, so I said I'm gonna leave it on. So I just switched it to the regular TV. So yeah, it's definitely a very entertaining game. The Capitals have been playing some quality hockey. You know, they had a good week. They're still undefeated in regulation. They've got the point in every game this season so far. Looking to continue that trend tonight against a tough Ottawa squad. You know, they're rebuilding. They got some youth and some speed, and we saw them with them putting up 3 goals in the second period. That they're not just going to lay down like we used to seeing these Capitals teams just impose their will on the Ottawa Senators going through this rebuild. It look like they're ready to fight back, but those 2 late goals might just be the backbreaker for this young team.
Absolutely. And I think I pulled a Robbie because it was good in the first period, but I was wearing something else that wasn't Caps related. So I had to go change my shirt and put this one back on. And suddenly we started scoring, and I thought, okay, this is it. I don't care if I haven't watched this one in a couple of games, but that's all right. So yeah, it's exciting. I certainly did not expect it to be this high scoring, but it makes for very exciting hockey. And I think that going into the third period, now that you have somebody that is so admired by fans, but also the players with TJ Oshie, getting a Hattie, that your groove and your vibe is just up here, and it's going to continue. And that's when I love to see them play, because they seem so much more relaxed, and they're having fun. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another goal at this point, from anybody. Like, I would love to see Wilson get, he's kind of due for one, but I've been impressed with how they played tonight.
Yeah, I saw the stat that Wilson is actually leading the team in assists. He has a 4-game assist streak. I was like, wow, I didn't even know that. But going back to what you're saying about the high-scoring game, I'm going to ask you because, it's early in the season, and, I'm obviously a Double V fan. And Sammy's in the net tonight. He was in the net against Calgary. And, we've seen Double V average giving up 1 goal a game.
Right.
Samsonov, when he's in there, 3-4 goals are given up. And now he's getting a back-to-back, and he's giving up 7 goals in 2 games. Granted, a couple of those goals tonight were, some nice goals, but I feel like 2 of them, he could have got.
I got the first one.
Yeah.
They were like straight between the legs. You're just like, oh, come on.
And Calgary game, I haven't had a chance to watch it. I saw the score. I was at work, so I can't really critique them on that game. But how do you feel about the 2 young goalies right now? I feel like Double V has played much better, more controlled, more confident in the team plays, more confident in the front end as opposed to Samsonov. How do you feel?
I agree. I 100% agree with you. I've been a AnnaK fan from the beginning. There's just something about the way he plays between the pipes where he is just he just seems a lot calmer, a lot more focused. He's quick. And he doesn't have, he's one that is putting in, I feel like, extra time to prove just to himself what he can do. And I feel like Sammy kind of has to prove to the team and the fans that he deserves a spot after all the COVID mishaps and everything kind of last season. He kind of, put a bad taste in some of our, in some mouths to be like, you have this talent, and then, you get COVID twice, and were you being irresponsible? And then of course his relationship with Kuzi, and everyone wants to just kind of run with it. Bottom line, I think VTech is going to be, I think he's going to shine. And I think that Calgary game was a bit of a wake-up call because, you go down 3-0 in the first period, you're going to get pulled. And you could see it on his face, like that just sucked. But that is a tough team. That was a very physical game. I don't know. You said you saw highlights, but I don't know what else you saw. I do have, I will say, I think I have bumped up my hatred for, so there is my Ryan Reeves. But I will just say we can move that to Czech brothers, up here, because we have one in Calgary and one tonight on the Senators, and they both play like absolute jerks. So that was my my walk away from.
Yeah, the Kachuk boys already have a reputation. You know, their dad
uh,
didn't have that reputation, but they're finding their own niche in the NHL, and you know they've been
yeah,
pretty effective at it so far. But
absolutely.
let's go ahead and break down this week that was, and get into any updates. It should be coming back to the third period shortly. So let's go ahead and get into the wrap up of last week.
Alrighty, so last Tuesday the Caps welcomed the Avalanche, and at 6:15 we have Kuzi was first on the scoreboard, assisted by Carlson, and then the Avs follow up at 13:45 with the shorty, about 3 minutes later, which was a big disappointment. But then Nick Jensen rallies to score his first with assists by Orlov and Wilson. So there's, we're going to hear a lot of Tommy of the assists these days, and I think that's fantastic for him. Second period starts off with an Avalanche goal, but then we're seeing Anthony Mantha get on the board, which I think a lot of fans wanted to see more of him and what he could do. I think he started to prove himself for sure. So he gets a wrister at 14:47, assisted by Eller. And then almost 2 minutes later, here we go with Kuzi again. Birdman on a roll. And you gotta love it. I will say I did doubt his, whether or not he was truly dedicated 100% to the Capitals last year. And I feel like right now he is proving himself and then some, which is awesome to see. And that was assisted again by Wilson and Orlov, giving the Caps a 4-2 lead heading into the third. 39 seconds into the third, we have Nick Dow scoring, assisted by Jensen and Hagelin. The Avs do score with the power play goal at 16:54, but the captain scores his fourth with an empty netter, and it is a 6-3 Capitals win. And stat-wise, shots on goal were good, and for me, I've been a big stickler when it comes to the face-off percentages, but Capitals was 55 and Avalanche 44. Can't go wrong with that. They look good.
Yeah, it was definitely, the Avalanche were so-called the Stanley Cup, contenders and favored to win the cup. And it was good to see the Caps impose their will on this young team. And, it was a good game from start to finish. The Capitals have been playing good hockey. They've been playing their hockey. Like you said earlier, they're having fun. They're getting solid goaltending. They get solid defense and penalty kill when they do take some of these dumb penalties. And power play have been operating well. And for folks that's tuned in, they see Robbie G is making a surprise appearance tonight.
Oh, yay!
So Robbie G, how you doing tonight, good sir? I don't want to get you in too much trouble. I know, you got limited time.
Well, Liz passed out on the couch, so until she wakes up, I'm gonna jump on. And I got Zach down. You can see here.
Yeah. There we go.
He's asleep right there. There you go. So I got that done. I just got a scoring update while I was putting him down that TJ Oshie has a hat trick in this game, which is pretty awesome. I've been watching it off and on. I watched the really good first period. I did not watch a lot of the second period because I was trying to shower him. But yeah, it's been an up and down game. But going back to that game against the Avalanche, I was surprised. I mean, I thought Colorado was going to be better than that, and I just thought the Capitals just kept on sticking it to them and really put together a full game. And I don't know, they just kept on looking better and better as the games have gone on. I know that there's a little bit of a slump with that last game, but matinee games are never really our games. But I really liked what I saw from that Avalanche game.
True. Let's go ahead and get into that second game against the Devils.
Yeah, and I just realized I don't know where my background is. So Robbie, just so you know, about 30 seconds before I went on, my computer's like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and restart. I was like, of course you are. So everything just kind of went into panic mode, and I'm like, why am I looking at my drapes? I'll work on that. So on Thursday, the Caps headed to New Jersey to take on the Devils. Caps score first at 4:14 with a Mantha goal. Yay. Assisted by Sprong and TVR, who is becoming a favorite of mine. A little more than 5 minutes later, Orlov scores his first with an assist by Ovi and Kuzi with that Russian line going on there. Daniel Sprong scores his only goal. His only goal in the second, it was unassisted. Carol, I don't know if you had a chance to see Daniel Sprong's goal,
Yes,
but
I did. Yes,
God, the
was-
speed.
Yeah.
And Robbie, and I'm sure you saw it, but I was blown. I mean, I knew he was skilled and was quick and everything, but this was really a phenomenal. What a way to have your first goal of the season.
Yeah, they're expecting a lot from him. You know, when he played last year, he was up on different lines and he was effective on whatever line he was on. He has a great shot. Like you said, he has good speed. He's a good skater. And, you know, sometimes you need those momentum changes like that. And it was a great play for him to deflect it off the boards. The defender didn't know where the puck was, made a wrong move. And next thing you know, off to the races. And he that 5-hole shot, it was an amazing shot, the way it was on edge, and he still had enough on it to get it to trickle through the 5-hole. It was a beautiful goal.
It was, and definitely cheering for him for a great season because God, and he just was like 110% and didn't give up. But he did give us that 3-0 lead. Kuzi scores his third at 1916, assisted by Wilson, which was his fifth, and OV's fourth. The Devils score their only goal at 13-18, but it gave us a 4-1 win. I think this was the only thing I walked away with the negative on this one was the power play. We were 0 for 3, and it was pretty like, come on guys, let's get with it. That was a statistic that definitely stood out in my mind. I don't know about you, Robbie, or what you thought about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Excuse me.
I really like the Devils game. You know, I think the Devils are a better team this year, and I just think that they were able to. I'm sad they didn't get the shutout, but I'm happy that they were able to put together another full 60 minutes of hockey. I can't believe we've been able to beat them between the last 2 seasons now 9 times in a row, which is
Right.
crazy. Like, you know, it's hard to do. Sorry,
But I do think, like Gil and I were talking yesterday on PowerPoint about just the fact that they had some injured players that they still are a team to look out for. If everybody kind of comes back, I mean, rebuilding, yes, but it seemed to be some strong players that were definitely missing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like that we got both goalies kind of rolling. You know, I think that's important to play both of them, and not just sort of stick to one. I know we talked about last week whether they'd go to Sammy for the next game. I'm happy that they did. I think that he deserved a home game. And then, you know, I think, you know, he's let in some tonight, but, you know, I think there are a lot of defensive breakdowns in those. So I'm sorry for my dog. She's freaking out with the storm.
They're pretty insane. I'm also noticing that like the humidity here is kind of kicking in. And I feel like let's kind of bring
I feel you. I just took a shower.
Let's bring it down a notch.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I was happy with the New Jersey game. Oh no, they just scored another goal.
Put my glasses on.
5-6, 13:28 left in the third period. This is
It's good to
game.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
a high-scoring game. I'm just shocked.
Yeah,
I didn't see this.
That's why I say, man, Sammy, to me, he there's goals that he should be stopping. There were some defensive breakdowns, but I've seen him let in too many goals that shouldn't. Double V, he's always in position. He's not having to sprawl all over the place. He's not having to do the acrobatic save. He's doing his job well. That's why I like these double back-to-back games for Samsonov. I'm not pleased with it at all. But let's go ahead and get into the Calgary game, the matinee that Robbie was speaking about.
Yeah, which is never a good thing, unfortunately. So Saturday at 1 o'clock, Capitals played against Calgary. The first period, it was all Calgary Flames. They scored 3 points. 3 goals. We had 0. But I do feel like there must have been an amazing talking to in the locker room, because whether it was from the captain, from Laviolette, who knows? But something clicked for sure when they came back, because they played hungry on the ice, which was good to see. They did pull Vanacek So we have a second period koozie with the shorthanded goal at 2:55. And then a new kind of favorite with everybody, Martin Favari, scoring his first NHL goal, number 42. Awesome to see at 7:48, assisted by Wilson and Ovi. Okay, am I seeing another hat trick? Is that just what happened? Ugh. God.
Yeah, unfortunately, they got a hat trick too. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. I just looked up and I saw a hat on the ice. I thought
Yeah, I'm streaming.
maybe it's an Oshie recap.
Yeah, this is Batherson guy, Drake Batherson. It's his first career hat trick. So him and TJ
Good for
both
him
have
at
hat
home.
tricks in this game right now.
Let's hope for no more.
Yeah.
Way to steal the thunder from Oshie.
He has 3 goals and an assist. He's actually got 4 points in that game. Anyway.
Quick update.
So the closing out the second, the captain scores his fifth unassisted with at 18:03 to tie it 3-3, and this is where we really kind of fans saw this rally and we're ready for a fight. And there were no goals in the next 20 minutes in that third period, heading into overtime. And again, speaking of hat tricks, you have Lindholm scores hat trick, gets his third at 2:46, and the Capitals lose, unfortunately. And again, power play 0 for 4. So that was my takeaway from this, was that they should have come out faster. They should have, they came out quite lazy, I thought. I don't know, Gil thought they played a good 5 minutes. I think that it just wasn't the 60 minutes. Calgary came off hot, and they played aggressive, and they played a physical. And my continuation of the Kachuk brothers continues of my total distaste, because I hated Matthew in the Calgary game, and I'm highly disliking his brother tonight in this Ottawa game.
Yeah, like I say, I haven't had a chance to watch the Calgary game. I just know who was in goal. I didn't, for the Capitals to be at home and to give up 3, yeah, that was a shock to me. And then to see them roll back, get 3 to tie back up. Unfortunately, losing in overtime, like I said, I got to check it out. But like I said, to me, goaltending has been the difference from when I've seen Samsonov, when I've seen Double B. There's a night and day difference to me in confidence and, being in the right place and being technically sound. What about you, Robbie?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Double V looks better. I know some people are asking, like, how do you pay $2 million for Sammy while you're paying, a quarter of that for, Vitek Vanacek? But I mean, that's just an entry level contract. That's just, when he gets a contract for real, his is going to be at least $2 million. I think Double V has earned that. We're lucky that we got an entry level contract back from, that was a crazy move to use a draft pick to get such a low cost contract back for us, because we were very strapped for cash. I mean, I agree. I think VTech looks better, but I want to give Sammy a little bit of time, just because he had such an off year with all of the COVID stuff last year, and
he's the veteran, man. Come on, Robbie. He's the veteran. Double V is 2 years in, and he's looking more professional than a veteran that's been in the league. And you say you want to give him more time? Come on, Robbie. I know you like Samsonov. You can't keep making excuses for him, man. Come on, Robbie.
I see that, but isn't Vitek Vanacek actually like a similar age? And I think that the thing is, it's just one played in different leagues. I don't think that necessarily.
And we know the NHL and the KHL or whatever league he played in are not the same leagues. And for him to come in as a rookie last year, perform like he did, with Samsonov going down, with Lundqvist having a heart issue, and him coming in, and NHL knew and did what he did, and they still let Sammy, come back. And whatever, and then
I think you let them play through it, though. I think you let them. You got to see it. It's too early in the season to make a definitive thing of who's your number one goalie. It's too early. We don't know enough.
But last year when he had that good run, we still said it was too early. And how many games did he play? Like, out of the first 40 games he played, like 15 to 20, and he had a great record and was doing this thing and would have had 4 or 5 shutouts.
I love Double V. I have nothing against Double V.
But you're making
ultimately
excuses for Samsonov. Samsonov has shown what he is: inconsistent, immature, getting COVID. I don't even care about the COVID stuff, honestly. I'm more worried about the in goal stuff. But the fact that he did get COVID twice last year and is supposed to be the guy, and he didn't step up and be the leader that he needed to be in net by not getting COVID and not performing on the ice. I can't see people saying we got to give him time. We got to give him. How much more time do we have to give him?
I mean, this is it, Carol. This is the season. He's got a make or break contract. He doesn't perform well. This is what he's done.
Yeah.
We don't really have the cap space to go out and get somebody else right now, and so you don't have to convince somebody to have it.
I'm good with riding with him.
Right, I'm fine with it too, but we still got to give Sammy 35 games.
If we get performance,
you can't just say, hey, have 70 games, VTech.
We getting 3 and 4
He would be so burnt out.
He'd
He'd be worthless for us in the playoffs.
No, I'm not saying give him 70. I'm just saying that we should say that he's the number one goalie. Sammy gets 1 start every 4 instead of.
The coach gets nothing from that. The coach gets nothing from doing that. You breed competition, make them both fight for it.
But I think, I don't know, Robbie, if you heard, but when Carol and I were talking about the sport, because he had asked my opinion on it, and I think that VTech is in it, for himself to prove to himself and to the team. And I think that Sammy has to prove, to the fans a lot more because of what happened last year. And I think that that's always something that's going to kind of hang over his head, unfortunately. But I think that Vanacek is putting in the time, putting in the effort, knowing that, knowing what he needs to do. And he doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. But Sammy does kind of have that dark cloud over his head about, proving after last year, just like a Kuzi. And Kuzi stepped up to the plate, at least for now. And I'd like to see Sammy do the same. That first goal tonight was ridiculous. I mean, that was just you have to be kidding me. Goal.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't see the first goal. I was out.
Okay.
There, I was screwing up my dinner order. But but I did hear some of the goals for us on the radio on the way back. So I was happy that TJ's playing well. So I mean, and maybe that's true. And maybe he's having a rough night right now. The Capitals are on the power play. Alex Formanton, I think that's how you pronounce it, has a holding 2 minutes drawn by TJ Oshie. 1 minute left in this power play. See if the Capitals can add any more insurance goals. Right now, they are winning this game 6-5. And if you're just tuning in, there's a hat trick for either team so far. TJ Oshie having the one for the Capitals. I want
to see Tommy score.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'd be happy with anybody in the the lamp. I'm wearing my old school white Capitals because I don't have a lot of white Capitals gear.
Waiting to see how this power play turns out. Let's go ahead and look at the upcoming schedule. We got Dujan waiting in the wings for football, and he's on limited time.
Oh, God, the time.
Let's go ahead and get the upcoming schedule for the Capitals this week.
Sure thing. Well, obviously, the Senators tonight, we do have on Wednesday a home game against Detroit. Which should be interesting, but also kind of sad because Jacob Vrana had a chance to come home and play, but he has injured and out for a while, unfortunately. So we won't get a chance to see him on the ice. But Dylan Larkin. So that's just one to look out for on the Detroit side of things. And then here we go. I had to laugh at this one as Arizona. Looking forward to it, looking at the roster, and there we go. Phil Kessel, you're still there. Look at you. He is still doing his thing. I still can't stand him, but hey, good for him. So he'll be there. But you know who else is going to be there on the Arizona side is
Ovechkin.
Shut up.
Ovechkin, let's go.
I got to put my glasses on.
I've got a wet dog on me now. But she got very excited.
How can you not? Oh my God. He is gorgeous.
Yeah. Just a great play by Tom Wilson, finding him, shooting through the slot, just Ovechkin, rocket shot, upper corner.
That's like Tommy, right. Well, before he was at his 5th assist. I think tonight he had 2. Yeah. Oh, amazing. So that Tom's coming into his own as well, which is awesome to see.
He called it. He got a point. He didn't score a goal, but I'll take it. Right?
All right, I'll take it.
On the power play, 9:09 left in the third period. Washington's now up 7-5.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, it's gonna. Both of those games are gonna be interesting games. I mean, first of all, like even if you're the worst team, it's always gonna be a dangerous game with Arizona. Detroit, again, they don't have Mantha. They're not as scary. The other game, it's technically next week because it'll start before the podcast. Is we're gonna go to Tampa Bay and play the defending champions again, and you guys will have that covered live on the podcast next week. So that'll be fun. I'm not sure I'll be able to tune in, but I thought this was a fun live game, so I thought I would join you. Thank you, Anna, for having me on the Power Play Point podcast as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you go to sports.thp.com and click the podcast partners button, you can have Anna's podcast with Gil, the Power Play Point podcast I joined for a couple minutes yesterday. You also have our next guest, Dujanet, have his podcast on there as well, and I'm hoping to have the website completely redesigned before the next year during this paternity leave. So there'll be some cool new features and bios of our different hosts that I'm trying to make over the next couple of weeks. Carol doesn't even know that yet. I'm going to surprise her.
Surprise.
So version 5 of the website is hopefully coming in the next 2 months or so. I'll work on that on the side during these next couple of weeks. But exciting game. And Anna, thank you for breaking it down and holding down the fort. And it was fun to jump in with you guys. Anna, any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, I'm excited. I'm pumped, and I'm looking forward to seeing what your kiddos are going to be for Halloween if we get a chance to talk about that next week, because I'll be doing that. I'm not actually doing Sports on the Hill. I'm not doing that Power Play next Sunday. Gil's wife is going to fill in for me so I can do the trick-or-treating thing here. But yeah, let's go Caps. Man, this is fantastic.
Just in case I don't get on the air next week, we're going to go as a family of skeletons.
Oh, cool.
Jack really wanted to be a skeleton, and then I was like, and then he really wanted his mom to be a pumpkin, which she did not love the idea of. So we were like, why don't we do family of skeletons? That'll be our solution. And so we got a skeleton onesie, and we got skeleton outfits for Liz and myself. God,
that's awesome.
Storm, I'm so sorry.
I know it's bad. No, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you all next week.
All right, and appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
See you next week. All right, Robbie, appreciate you taking the time. And
just my real quick thoughts, and then I'll let you and Dujanet break it down. Is that game was filled with disappointments. There's so many times where I thought Washington would take the lead or do something super exciting. They had so many opportunities in that game. I don't necessarily think that the final score is indicative of how many times Washington was in it, and but it just overall just disappointment after disappointment, and they kept on reeling me back in. They kept on giving me just enough hope to keep on watching them, and only to fall apart once again. I hate that our new kicker lived up to his name, his surname, and I don't know, just so many mistakes, right? And it's just so disappointing, right? I think just disappointment, hurt, and just overall frustration was how I felt watching that game on Sunday. And I knew we were going to lose. I knew that Green Bay's a better team, but it's just it's hard to watch it go down quite like that.
I feel you. I don't agree that Green Bay was a better team. It was a lot of things that went on in that game that I'm definitely going to get into. That was definitely a winnable game. I never blame refs, but I'm sorry. When you have a player put his arm around a Washington football team wide receiver in the end zone, and it's not called pass interference, but then on the 40-yard line, when a Washington football defender put his arm around a receiver for the other team, it's pass interference. That call when Gibson fumbled and they tried to say that the Green Bay player had the ball when he clearly did not have possession and tried to make it down by contact. We saw Montez Sweat get held twice when he had pressure on Aaron Rodgers in front of the referee. And all of a sudden he got goggle vision and he ain't see it. But a hold on a kick return or a punt by the Washington football team, they spot that. I'm not blaming the refs for the loss, but it was a lot of malarkey. I'm not even going to use curse words tonight. That's how frustrated I am. I'm gonna keep it PG. That was malarkey yesterday. And some of those non-calls that went on in that game. And I'm not even gonna get into the Heineke Phantom slide. I don't know why the hell he decided to slide instead of running to the end zone. The fumbles, yeah, we're going to get it out, Robbie. I don't want to
I
keep
love
it.
that they were the worst red zone defense in the league, and we made them look like they were some of the best, right? Some of these stands, and I just like,
And that's how crazy this game was.
yeah,
So it's crazy.
it was very, very frustrating to watch. One quick little shout out I'm going to give I'm really impressed with how the Wizards did in their first 2 games. They are doing fairly terribly right now against Brooklyn, but Brooklyn's a much better team than the teams that they played before, even without Kyrie. But I wanted to mention that they had a good first week, and I'm excited for the roundtable to break that down a little bit later. I know that we got Ken and Brian and some other guests on for that one, but I'll let you and Dujan chop it up about football and this disappointing game. But it's just a very, very frustrating game for me.
It's frustrating is the perfect word. It's very frustrating. But all right,
Yeah.
Robbie, appreciate you, man. We about to go ahead and break this latest loss down. I know I got some stuff to get off of my chest, and I know Dujan got some stuff to get off of his chest. So I'm gonna just go ahead and finish up my little diatribe on some of the craziness of the game yesterday. The Heineke, and he had the touchdown. I don't know why he decided to, slide. And folks that's questioning, even some local DC sports media that don't know the NFL rules, and is talking about it was a touchdown. When you slide feet first, you're down when you hit the ground. When you slide head first, you're down where you finish sliding. If he went head first, yeah, it ended up in his own touchdown. But when you slide feet first, you give yourself up and you're down. So some of y'all sports media that swear you know sports, go read a book because it wasn't a touchdown. And it was just some crazy plays. Gibson with the fumble, Carter with the fumble, Heineke being 30 yards downfield, which most quarterbacks aren't to recover the fumble, which was that just shows his hustle. Like, he wants to be good, but he just hasn't got it together, as opposed to the quarterback that was here that thought he was good.
He's not going to get it together either, man. He is what he is.
Yeah.
He is what he is. It's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just the fact of the matter is you are what you are, and that's who he is. It's unfortunate, but that's who he is.
Yeah, I mean, Fitzpatrick looks like he won't be back and be ready till week 10, and the bye, I believe, was in week 9. So maybe not maybe, but depending on how fast he gets back on track.
He's not the savior either.
No, I'm not saying he's the savior, but we can see what the offense to do with a veteran quarterback as opposed to the young gunslinger that only had 7 starts. So I just want to see if the offense.
I'd rather have him, and you know what? That's crazy, right? But I'd rather have him with the turnovers and all. There were several things yesterday that proved that. You're gonna have to live with the hiccups. That's just who he is. He Brett Favre's it like nobody else better. He's gonna make the plays, and it all boils down to the fact that it's just execution. It was poor execution. Yeah. I mean, how do you have more yards than the opposing team offensively, and you don't have the points to show for it? It red zone execution was just it. I can't even be mad about it. Like, I'm really not. It's just it's funny. One of the colleagues, Seawall had her show earlier tonight. And she said the same thing. I was thinking the exact same thing yesterday. It's just a matter of execution. Your defense played well enough, despite some things, to win the ball game. I mean, they left 21 points, in my opinion, on the field because of execution. That's all. It's the craziest thing. And then that's with an occasional turnover. You're still in the ball game, and you likely win that game because Green Bay was not that good yesterday. Yeah. Washington just let them be in the game.
Yeah, my issue with the only thing that, like I said, everything said about Heineke, I agree. But even though he is who he is, you have to stop making the same mistakes. He's missing the running back in the flat wide open every time trying to force it to Terry. He has to cut that out because and then he's locking in on Terry. Those are certain things as a quarterback. I don't care how much moxie or how much Brett Favre you got. Brett Favre ain't never stared down his receivers as much as Heineke is staring down Terry McLaurin.
The batted ball, I think it was the 4th down play that he forced it to Terry.
Mm-hmm.
That was unnecessary because he had others open that he could have completed it to, and he just decided to just hella high water. That's where he was going. He does do that a lot, and I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
but again, it's that I don't think that's going to change, man. I really don't. I don't think that's going to change. And it's not like we're acting like he's going to be the quarterback for forever. You know what I'm saying? I just think he's a stopgap until they decide to either trade for one, get one in free agency whose contract is up, or draft one. He's not the guy long term. I mean, he has an opportunity to show that they could set the guy for a while if they want to go draft. But I think he's proven now, and obviously Fitzpatrick hasn't had the opportunity really, but he's not going to be the guy that they're going to allow to play another season while they groom someone. So they're either going to go get someone in free agency, or you're sure bet going to go and get a top-notch quarterback, that's worthy of starting day one, which is not a bad deal when they do have talented weapons around them, whoever decides to come in, behind center.
I mean, if he fixed that part of his game and hitting instead of, trying to be the Brett Favre-esque instead of, hitting the man underneath, that will make him a better quarterback, and that will open the offense up because defenses are picking up on that. And that's why the running backs are wide open in the flat, because they know he's not going to take it because he wants to gamble. And
he wants the big play.
Yeah, and he has to realize that. And him, going to school and getting his degree, you got to have the brain power. You should be able to do the same thing on the football field. But you mentioned the defense. The defense definitely came to play in the first half. We actually saw some stunts. We saw some twists. We saw some gap discipline. Second half, not so much. That's when Aaron Rodgers was able to buy time and, break down the defense and get a first down and get yards, extending drives. Secondary played better. Didn't have any blown coverages and wide open wide receivers running down the field for the first time all season. But this week, the tight ends killed this, being National Tight End Day. I guess all the tight ends decided they were going to fill out.
Let me simmer that down just a little bit. I agree with you, but it was that was by design too. Like there was honestly, ever had one of those plays? You play a Madden. You ever have one of those plays where that the quarterback rolls out in a certain defense? You're either going to go after the quarterback and he's going to beat you with the tight end somewhere, or if you don't go after the quarterback, you're giving up 15 yards to the quarterback, and he's likely going to score from where you are inside the red zone. That was just one of those plays where it was a darned if you do, darned if you don't. You pick your poison, but he gonna make a play one way or the other, and they didn't have a choice. I mean, it was a great play design against a defense that really wasn't compatible to be able to beat that. And they did that a few times. It's not that guys were out of position; they just had to make a choice.
They had to make a choice, and on that play with Chase, if you look, when Chase came down to Chase Rogers, you had Danny Johnson. He was in the vicinity, but he was still looking at the quarterback, and if he would have dropped back 2 steps, he'd had it. Yeah, so
he was too shallow.
Yeah,
he needed to be deeper.
So I mean, I feel what you're saying. Like you said, it was by design. It was, like I say, I'm not taking away from. I'm just saying that we finally didn't see any wide receivers running free down the field for the first time all season.
But they get 15, 20 yards down the field, just streaking and walking for a touchdown. I mean, it was nice. I think they found a spot for Landon Collins.
Well,
I'm not saying
he
knew
that
perfect.
spot. He just didn't want to accept that.
Right. But I think that is his spot. I think Paul had a couple. I think if you saw Paul's Facebook today. I thought he made some really good points. I know people hating, but he played well. And over the last 2 games, he's played well, and they've not asked him to be in the coverage. They've asked him to execute. Now, I'd like to see him tackle a little bit better. That throwing the shoulder nonsense, wrap up and slam guys down because they running through you. Other than that, I thought he has played better than he was in the first half of the season, and that's likely the spot for him. That's not the spot for him for a guy getting paid the money that he's getting paid. But at the end of the day, you got to find a way to get your big players out there and find the right spots for your guys, and that's the spot for him right now. So definitely should be in that position. And I like the guys that they played on the back end. Thought Johnson played well. He had some little things happen where he had to make some choices that didn't necessarily wasn't in the position to make the right or to have an effect on the play. But for the most part, I thought they did their job. And really it just came down to, offensive execution just didn't get it done. If they could have had 21 points, you had that 21 points that they needed, that they let slip away. Could you imagine where they would be? They likely would be leading 28-24, if that, because maybe the defense is inspired a little bit because they scored a few touchdowns. They have a lead, and they're putting a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers, which they were able to get home. The only problem with defense is they do this way too much. The 2 guys in the middle, your 2 tackles that are in there when you got your little 4-man fronts, those guys cannot be pushed upfield like Bruce Smith with the rest of the guys. They have to stay shallow and play contained. That way, when it's time to collapse the pocket, you can. But when you got 4 people standing in line with the quarterback, guess what? He's likely going to get 10 automatically. Then likely, if it's a fast quarterback like a Lamar Jackson, a Kyler Murray, a Jalen Hurts, he's likely going to get 8 plus more before you stop it because he's got moves. But Aaron Rodgers can get at least 12 to 15. So you can't have your DNs in line with the quarterback. They have to sit shallow. And it's almost like sometimes those 4 guys up front are 4 individuals and not 4 guys playing together as one collective unit like you talked about. Staying sound where your gaps are supposed to be. Them D tackles are not supposed to be that far. Let the ends go up, flush him towards the tackles, collapse that pocket in, and you bring him down. And you saw that in the first half when they were able to do it consistently.
Amen, brother. Amen. I want to see them go to a 5-2 look. They have the personnel. And not saying a full 5-2, but throw that wrinkle out there. You see what Buffalo and the Chargers are doing with their 5-2. They're wreaking havoc. And with Tim Settle, you could throw him out there with that 4.
Yeah.
Jamin Davis and Landon Collins, the linebackers, and throw whatever 4 secondary you want back there. And, mix it up a little bit. That's the one thing I still haven't seen. No matter what defensive coordinator we have, they don't move our players around. Every other team we see that have quality pass rushers, they're over the guard, they're over the center, they're over right tackle, left tackle. They constantly putting our guys in the same spot and not making the offensive line work. And not making them think like, okay, I'm used to this technique on this guy. Oh, I got Chase Young. I'm a guard. He's used to the outside. What is he going to do? He's all that thinking, trying to figure out what causes disruptions, causes problems. And you have to make these guys think along with beat them physically on the field. And that's what I feel like Del Rio's missing. I don't know if some of his political stuff then leaked into his brain on the football field. I don't know. But looking at the film last year, and what he was doing with the defense, and looking at what he's doing this year, it's like night and day. I don't understand the logic.
It is. They moved. They had Chase in different positions last year. They had Montez in different positions last year. They were mixing up the fronts, giving people different guys and different packages of guys up front to look at in different positions. And now we're going to the Joe Barry school of, I'm going to come up to the line as a quarterback, and I know exactly where those edge rushers are. All I'm asking you to do is either A, pushed him up the field past me so I can step up in the pocket and make the play because I'm at, and if that's the case, if the DNs get greedy, I definitely can step up and either make a clean throw or I'm going to be able to get a first down with my legs. So all I'm asking you to do is to keep them off of me, push them up the field, and allow me to make a play. And you know where they are, so it's not very hard. You can slide a guy over to chip one guy if you want. Doesn't matter if it's Sweat or Chase to give you more time. And then, obviously they're having more than 7 seconds, and that's obviously it's going to be a completion. Guys are doing the best they can on the backside. So, yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more mixing up, a little bit more not being able to target where these guys are. I think if they did that, you'd see some difficulty, especially with what I saw them have done against an Aaron Rodgers. There'd have been a little bit more difficulty yesterday, and I think it'd have been a little bit more frustration from Double A than elation at the end. But again, your offense has got to execute and get points, and they left a lot of that out on the field yesterday. So, yeah, I'm not. I know a lot of fans are frustrated. I don't think this is coaching. I think there's some adjustments as far as doing a little more, being a little bit more creative that could be done. But at this point, you talk about this game, it was execution only. I thought the defense did their job and did a good enough job despite some of the third down give ups that they had this week to win. And if the offense just put points on the board, they had several touchdowns that they either gave away because of stupid phantom, I don't know, you're afraid you're going to get hit by somebody who isn't there when you could have walked in the end zone. And not, some of it's the calling, but it's just execution. I'm not even going to blame the play calling. Execution is the big thing. And
I got to put a little bit on play calling. I got to put a little bit on play calling with Scott Turner because it boggles my mind how he can see other teams run screens on us with our aggressive defense. And he called one screen yesterday. And you have to use your defense, and you've seen when you use it, it works. And I'm tired of this 3rd down and 3 and shotgun stuff, man. I'm tired of it.
Sometimes I don't think they have enough confidence. I think they don't have enough confidence. And me personally, I don't know why you don't have enough confidence. If you don't have enough confidence in Gibson to get those 3, then JD has proven that he can get you 3. I mean, the old Madden thing. If you hand him the ball, if you want 3, he gets you 3. If you need 6, he gets you 3. I mean, the JD isn't like that, but if you want 3, he gonna get you 3.
Yeah.
He gonna get you 3 and some. If you need 3, he definitely can get you that. And they won't give it to him in that regard. I don't like the shotgun stuff either. But with the amount of yards they put on and how they were basically putting on a clinic between the 20s, no excuses. They just had to execute better when they got inside the 20, and they didn't do it. And they allowed stupid things to happen. Part of me doesn't understand why they called that a slide, because he did not lead with his feet. But the rule, no matter what, is if he gives himself up, he needed to lay out for it to not be called. Once his knee touched the ground, he's giving himself up. That's what the rule says. So it's it. There's no touchdown.
Yeah.
Because he had given himself up.
Yeah, it looked like he tripped a little bit when he was trying to slide and his foot got caught in the turf. And when his foot got caught, that's when his knee hit the ground first before the ball went in. I don't know why he was trying to slide in.
I don't understand that. I don't know what he was thinking. He could have walked in untouched, and that was an easy touchdown. Yeah, a lot of points left on the field. But I guess you can kind of be encouraged with the way the offense is moving. But they've got to start executing and getting touchdowns and helping out their defense, especially in a game that they really did play probably one of their best games of the year that we've seen collectively. Front half, back half, played a very decent ball game against a perennial passer in Aaron Rodgers. It's unfortunate. And Green Bay, you're right. Green Bay was not that good.
Yeah, hopefully next week we can have balance on offense and defense, and they actually play well at the same time in the same quarter and play a full 4 quarters. Heading to Denver next week with a 4:25 start. Denver isn't the same
A team
thing.
that's not playing well.
Yeah, so Teddy
They're not
Bridgewater.
playing well.
Yeah, so what do you see for this game with the Washington football team going on the road? Sometimes they say that simplifies things, helps build team unity because you're all in a hotel, you're eating together, you travel to the facility together. So what do you see for this game against Denver this week?
If you had asked me this 2 weeks ago, I'd say there's no chance. What I saw, I really enjoyed watching what I saw, despite the disappointment for the fans from the X's and O's standpoint. It really does look and has a good feel of these guys are working hard and playing ball out there to put up the yards they put up against, Green Bay in Green Bay. Really had a chance all game long until late, late, late. Um, I think they can do that here. Denver is not playing well. Bridgewater, very inconsistent for whatever those reasons are. They're having difficulty protecting him. They haven't run the ball well with either back in Melvin Gordon or Williams. If they can just slow down, I think they're the receiver that's really been having pretty good days has been Cortland Sutton. If they can do that, because their tight ends aren't playing very well, they look very lethargic. They look very out of sorts. And defensively, they're not playing. They're not up to the par that they were several years ago. It's a very winnable game. They just got to go out and do the same things they've been doing, just executing a little bit better on defense, like we talked about the defensive tackles, staying where they need to be and allowing that pocket to collapse naturally. If you squeeze the quarterback out of that thing, then so be it. But at least you're in position to make that tackle when he comes squirting through, and he's not running free, to wide open pastures. And offensively, it's execute in the red zone. They have the horses. There's no excuses. They have the horses. Love Ricky Seals Jones coming on and really balling in the last couple of games. He really showed himself this week. They've just got to execute better in the red zone. If they can bring what they brought defensively with a little bit of extra into Denver, and if they can just put the ball in the end zone and do what they did offensively against Green Bay in Green Bay, a very tough place to play, they should be able to win this ball game. I'm actually picking them to win a very close game, likely 3 points or so, maybe 6 points. But I think they can win against this team if they execute.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. The defense is taking strides to getting itself together. Hopefully, like you said, we'll see the defensive line working as a unit instead of everybody trying to work as one. And I think they want to put a strong defensive performance up, and that's going to help fuel the offense. And they're going to get a win before going into the bye and get ready for the rematch with Tampa Bay, with which Deron Payne said they had circle on the calendar. So we're definitely going to see what this team has coming up in these next 3 weeks with them having a bye after this game. And going up against Tampa, everyone's, I'm not even going to get into that. But
Hey, I'll go out on a limb. I'll get into it. I'll go out on a limb on that. Too many people are acting like Tampa Bay is Arizona. And yesterday, they wasn't playing anybody. I mean, that's probably one of the worst teams for various reasons, coaching being one of them in the league. But when they played quality to mid-range teams, this team last year was a wild card team. Stop acting like they went undefeated. And they show regularly that they were a wild card team. Just nobody has stepped up and finished the job. That's the key. Not like we're not talking about like I can't even say Kansas City anymore, but we're not talking about a Arizona Cardinals team coming in here or, that Washington will be taking on. They play like a wild card team. Watch all their games. I know they won and only lost one game over these 7 games. But go back and analyze. When you look at them on the field, defensively, offensively at times, they look like a wild card team. They don't look any different than what they looked like last year. Just that when you don't do what you need to do consistently, obviously Tom Brady makes you pay. But defensively, they've made people they have given up and actually kept a lot of teams that have been able to score and keep it close in the game. What happened? You know what happens when you get pulled away from. The run game goes away. You got to go to pass. So they're not scary. Let's just put it that way. They're not scary. The team yesterday that competed against Green Bay could compete against Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
if they were the team a few weeks ago putting at least 21 to 28 points on the board. That's the key.
Execution, like you said, man, execution. So, yeah, it was going to be interesting to see, but, it could be a stepping stone, even though it was a loss, it was a step in the right direction. Defensively, offensively, like you said, the execution in the red zone, play calling in the red zone. Like I say, some of the things hopefully Scott Turner gets through his head that sometimes you just got to run the ball. You got to run the ball consistently. You're giving Gibson, 13, 14 carries in a 4-quarter span.
Not enough.
Yeah, I'm not blaming it. I'm not saying that's the reason for the fumbles. He's had 3 fumbles this year, didn't have any last year. And it's because, last year they were feeding him on a constant basis. This year it's like he's afraid to. I know he has this fractured shin, the slightly fractured shin that they've been nursing. But feed the man, especially early in the game. And then you got Patterson on the bench that you cut 2 veterans to put him on the team, and then you don't even let him get any go. McClissick, I like the way they're using him now by, letting him run the ball, so it isn't always key that he comes in, that he's receiving, that his teams are playing the more honest, and that's like you say, he's getting that 3 yards a clip, and he's getting those wheel routes and getting those screen plays because they're incorporating him into the running game, and that's what I understand. It's like he has blinders on, and sometimes I feel like he studied from the Jay Gruden school of offense instead of the North Turner, who was his dad. It's like, I don't understand how you can grow up in that household and see what he did with running the ball, winning back-to-back championships, and it's like you anti running the ball. I understand it's a passing league now, but you got it. When you have a team that's struggling, that's trying to find itself, you have to have some things that you can steadily lean on, and running game is one of those things.
Right. And I'll tell you what my mom says when her frustration is as a fan is he runs when it's obvious. A lot of times they'll go out there and you can pick the play exactly how they go, the combination that they're going to go with. And it's not a mix up. And then usually it happens a lot on the first drive of the game. If that's your script every week, tear that crap up, throw it away, throw the whole daggone thing away and start over. Because everybody knows exactly what you're going to do.
That's another thing that reminds me of Jay. Jay would do things just in spite, just to be a butthole. Like, yo, you want me to run the ball? Okay, I'm going to run it in times when they know you're going to run the ball, just so he can say, see what happens when we run the ball. They're not producing, so that's why we got to. No, come on now. Like I said, that's a whole nother show in itself. We already got the NBA roundtable in the wings. I know your time is short. Go let the folks know what you got going on before you get up out of here, and I can bring in the NBA roundtable to break down the NBA.
Oh, man, we are talking NFL Week 7 right here, over there, on the Not Bland Show, right on Ghostcast. We talked about that this week. We'll be talking a little bit about what's coming up here with the Vegas Nationals, as we are 2 races left in the NHRA season. And if you'll go back in the archives of the Not Bland Show on Ghostcast, you will hear my giving you, the fans, of who your rookie of the year will be for the NHRA, as your boy here may not have a vote for the Hall of Fame, but I do have a vote for this year's 2021 Rookie of the Year. I will not be exposing that until it is said and done, but I do have a show talking about that. And hopefully we'll have these rookies of the year candidates on our show before Pomona, at least when they after that we'll be announcing who the winner is. So lots of stuff coming up. Just stay tuned to the podcast, the breakdown, and the Not Bland show. And as always, Carol, it's a blessing to be on. Really appreciate it, brother.
Hey, man, I always appreciate you taking the time out. I know you got a busy schedule. Love getting your insight and love just chopping it up with you, man. Appreciate you taking the time, and, man, have a good night.
You too, man. You too. Great show.
I appreciate it, man. All right, we can get ready to bring in Brian, Arun, DC's People Champ, and I believe we got Tim also. So we got a full NBA roundtable tonight. Break down the Wizards. Well, it was 2-0 start, but unfortunately they took the loss to Brooklyn tonight, so they're 2-1. I can actually, lead up a little bit because I actually saw the first two games. Was watching the third game here. The Wizards, I must say, actually, before tonight, we're playing some defense in those first two games. They were executing. They were, looking like a real team. Actually, hitting the open man. Making things work. And I haven't watched a lot of Wizards basketball, but I must say I was impressed with the way they have looked in those first two games. Brooklyn, like Bobby said, is a championship caliber team, and they took the loss. But I like what I see from this Wizards team so far. And on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and get off camera and let BrianB go ahead and head this roundtable up and let y'all chop it up and enjoy.
All right, cool, guys. Thanks for having me on again, Carol. Always appreciate joining Sports on the Hill. Let's talk a little bit about the Wizards. 2-1, as Carol said, 2-1 to start the season. Wins against the Raptors, a crazy overtime victory against the Pacers in the home opener on Friday, and then a tough loss to Brooklyn tonight at Barclays Center. It's been a pretty good start, very good defense, like Carol said. I've been impressed with that as well. Before we get into that, let's introduce the rest of the roundtable. First off, we have Tim Clark. Tim, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great. I'm sad about the loss tonight, but excited to talk about the new coach and the new look team.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be excited about if you're a Wizards fan. Next up, we have DC People Champ, Ken Washington. Ken, how are you doing, my man?
Thank you for having me on, guys. I'm so excited to be back again for another season of Wizards basketball, and I'm very excited about what I've been seeing so far.
Yeah, definitely. Happy to have you back on. It should be a lot of fun talking about all this. And last but certainly not least, we have Arun. Arun, how are you doing, man? Do we have Arun?
We got Rita here.
Where are you at, Arun?
I let him in the room.
I'm here.
There you are, Arun. How are you doing, man?
Good. I'm also excited about the Wizards, although not so much today.
Yeah, it's hard to be excited, but I mean, Brooklyn was a better team going into the season, and they absolutely showed it in this game. But we'll get to that. First, we're going to recap the wins. We'll start with the season opening win in Toronto. Wizards won 98-83 in a game that I personally didn't see it, but from what I've heard, could have been a lot worse, could have been an even bigger blowout for the Wizards. Their defensive effort was great in this game. I was mostly impressed with Montrezl Harrell. I thought Montrezl Harrell in his Wizards debut, aside from getting into it with Drake, which was interesting, had a really great Wizards first game, 22 points off the bench, 9 rebounds. Bradley Beal had 23 points. Dinwiddie had 13. Kyle Kuzma contributed a little bit with 11 points. Overall, a good team effort for the Wizards, and exactly how you want to start the season. Wes Unseld starts his coaching career with the Wes Unseld Jr. That is starts his coaching career with the Wizards 1-0. Tim, I'll go to you first. Thoughts on the win?
Well, obviously the defense looked a lot better. I think Wes Unseld Jr. did a good job of just really preparing for this game and looking at where he had mismatches. And Toronto, they're not one of the best teams in the East. I think they're going to struggle to really be in the playoff conversation this year. But it is a tough place to play. They do have a very good home advantage. Besides just Drake, there's a lot of other Canadians that love to watch games live there. So you can't take the win for granted. I know the betting line was pretty even, so I was excited about the win. I would say besides Harrell, it was just nice to see Denny back on the court healthy. His shooting hasn't been great so far, but you like to have a big guy in there that's pretty versatile. And they are without Rui, but they do have a lot of wings. And despite Kuzma really struggling in that first game, at least shooting, they had a humongous lead. And I would say the only downside of the game was they got a little bit lazy in the fourth quarter and let Toronto cut it to like 7 or 8 points. But it was never really in doubt. And I mean, I'm not missing Scott Brooks. I'll just say that right now.
Yeah, I don't think any Wizards fans, especially after seeing that defensive effort in the first game, are missing Scott Brooks. I agree with you. Toronto can be a tough place to play, but this Raptors team looks almost like a shell of itself compared to what they were when they won the championship in 2019. So I'm not surprised the Wizards won this game relatively easily. Champ, I know you've been a preacher of defense, so I know you must be really happy that Wes Unseld Jr., a defensive-minded guy, is now the head coach. What are your thoughts on the win and having Wes Unseld Jr. as head coach?
Oh, my goodness. Listen, this team averaged giving up over 100 points a game last season, and in their first game out where it counted, they didn't even give up 90. And I was so over the moon about that. I was like, yes, finally a team that's out there playing defense, not giving up a lot of shots, not giving up a big score, and being able to run away with it for the most part. Like Tim mentioned earlier, they did kind of get lax in the fourth quarter and kind of made it a game, and you don't want to see those kind of things. But defensively, I was super impressed with this team. Finally, to be able to see a very good defensive performance from them. Granted, yes, the Raptors are not the same team as you mentioned like they were 2 years ago, but it's still good to be able to put up that kind of a defensive effort against an NBA team, regardless of their status.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned it. Raptors definitely not as good as they were, but still impressive to see from the Wizards. The new additions definitely looked like they were showing out in that first game. Overall, very impressive. Arun, your final thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it was a good win against the Raptors. The Raptors didn't look that good opening night, but then they blew out the Celtics, and they played a really close game against the Chicago Bulls. So maybe it is a quality win for the Wizards. Kyle Kuzma with the impressive hustle, and as Tim mentioned, Harrell was really good. I think he was a player of the game, and good to start off with a win and good defense. Toronto was missing a lot of shots though, but they've looked a lot better since they played Washington.
Yeah, you mentioned the Chicago Bulls. That's definitely going to be a team that I'm going to be keeping an eye on in the Eastern Conference this year. They started off 3-0, just barely beating Toronto in that game, so definitely keep an eye on the Bulls. Yeah, you're right. Toronto has played better since this game, but still, quality win for the Wizards to start the season. And we move on to the home opener now against Indiana. I didn't see any of this game, but it sounds like a crazy game. Just looking at the box score, the Wizards won in overtime, 135-134. A 1-point victory. Miles Turner for the Pacers scored 40 points. Sabonis had 28 for the Pacers. Brogdon had 28 for the Pacers. Yet still, the Wizards found a way at home to get this win behind 34 points from Spencer Dinwiddie, 26 from Kyle Kuzma. Davis Bertans, who was awful, admittedly, in the opener, offensively at least, bounced back with a good offensive game in this one. 17 points, 4 of 9 from three-pointer. Raul Neto had 18 points off the bench, a great team effort against the team that they played in the play-in last year. So these two teams are familiar with each other. I'll go in reverse order this time and start with Arun. Arun, what were your thoughts on the overtime victory against the Pacers?
Yeah, this is a game where I think the Wizards would have lost if they had Scott Brooks as the head coach. Unseld was making good offense, defensive substitutions, like putting in Bertans on offense, and the threes were pretty ridiculous. Clutch threes by Dinwiddie. Bertans' three-pointer, I didn't think it was going to go in when they released it. It's a step-back three. It went in. And the Pacers, they lost their second straight game. They actually lost the Hornets by 1 point. Tough way for them to start the season. But the Wizards with a good win. Duarte, who's taken a couple picks for the Wizards, he was a key player for them. And Corey Kispert looks like he's going to be a project, even though he's 22 years old. And probably that's what you get for winning the playing game. The Wizards end up with the worst draft pick, and they end up with the worst player, but they still get the win. At least they have that.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how Kispert develops. You mentioned Duarte. I wanted the Knicks to get him too in the draft. He was somebody I had an eye on all throughout the draft process. He had 15 points as well for the Pacers. Looks like he's going to be a really good player. I think Kispert could be a bit of a project, but you mentioned Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie's definitely, this was his best game so far this season. I mean, it's only 3 games, but still 34 points, 6 of 9 from 3, some big buckets down the stretch. What more can you ask for from the big free agent signing for the Wizards this year? Champ, did you get a chance to see any of this game?
I listened to this entire game from beginning to end, and my God, it was absolutely insane. I got to listen to Dave Johnson and Glenn Carter call this, and it was an amazing call. But big shout out though to Dinwiddie, because twice in this game he made clutch threes to tie this game up, and just absolutely balled out. And Kyle Kuzma, this kind of went under the radar, but this was his second straight double-double. 26 and 11 boards. I mean, absolutely paying dividends as new members of this Wizards team. The defense wasn't quite there on this night, but again, they were able to hang in and keep the Pacers at bay and be able to finish this off. A wild and crazy win, but a big, big win for this team to go 2-0 and give Wes Unseld Jr. his first 2 victories as a head coach.
Yeah, I'm going to be keeping my eye on Kuzma for sure this year. I think maybe being out of LA could be good for him, could be good for his career development, I feel. The pressure in DC is a lot less than it is in LA, I feel. So I think he's going to be a player to keep an eye on. Really, all the guys they got from the Lakers this year I could see contributing, but especially him. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on Kuzma. Tim, your thoughts on the win?
Just something about Indiana, it really lights up the Wizards on offense. I saw a crazy stat that last year the Wizards averaged 140 points against Indiana, but they also let up 128. So every time these two teams get together, it's a wild and crazy game. Sometimes close, also a lot of blowouts in the series. But Indiana just cannot guard the Wizards. I think they shot about 50% from 3. And it was just great to see a decent crowd. I was actually pretty happy with the home crowd. I don't know if it was quite a sellout, but it was close. And people were loud. They were really into the game. A lot of people were giving it to the Indiana players, especially Sabonis, because I think he got into it a little bit with Harrell. There might have been like a flagrant or something. But, I mean, I'm really impressed with Sabonis. I think he's just getting better every year. I don't know if Indiana will, advance in the playoffs necessarily, but he's a really good player, and he gave the Wizards problems. And then, just like you said, Turner career high, I think, and he was hitting threes, he was hitting shots all over. I don't know if I really fault the Wizards for that. He's not going to hit that every night, but they came up with big shots when it mattered. So really great win. And I agree with Arun. They probably would have lost that last year because it really did come down to all these big possessions at the end and just executing when it mattered.
I think ultimately Indiana's going to probably fall around the same spot the Wizards are. Might be fighting for that play-in type area. At the end of the day, they're definitely a team to keep an eye on, especially now that Rick Carlisle's their head coach. And Arun mentioned it. They had 2 very tough losses against similar teams, the Hornets and the Wizards, to start their season. I think Indiana is a good measuring stick for the Wizards, so I think it's important to win a game like this, especially in your home opener. So the Wizards had Saturday and Sunday off, and then they played the Brooklyn Nets tonight. They lost 104-90. Not a huge shocker, really. The Nets are one of the best teams in the NBA. Even without Kyrie Irving, they still have Kevin Durant, James Harden, Joe Harris, Patty Mills, a bunch of solid players on their team. The Nets actually led by 18 at the end of the first quarter. At one point, they led by, I think, 25 or something. They had a huge lead at one point. The Wizards were able to cut it down a little bit towards the end, but ultimately, the Nets were just too strong in this game. Just looking at the box score now, for the Nets, KD had 25 points. Patty Mills had 21 off the bench. James Harden had 14. Brown had 14 for the Nets as well. And for the Wizards, the leading scorer was Beal with 19. Kuz only had 6 points, 3 of 11 shooting. Dinwiddie, in his return to Brooklyn, his first game back since leaving the Nets, only had 10 points. Holiday had 11 off the bench for the Wizards. Overall, I mean, what can you do? The Nets are, I think, ultimately a better team than the Wizards by a lot. So, 3-0 would have been nice, but the Nets are better. I'll start with Champ this time. Champ, what were your thoughts on this game?
So yeah, I watched this game as well, and yeah, it was tough, but I kind of had a feeling that this was going to be the game that was going to be a letdown game because Brooklyn is such a much more talented team. Even though the Wizards had 6 players in double figures, it still just wasn't enough when you have the talent level that Brooklyn has, and you're in Brooklyn as well. I just felt like this was just going to be that game where they weren't going to go 3-0, and it was what it was. But the one thing that I did notice from this game was the fact that the Wizards, as they did in the first 2 games, including that Pacers game, is they kept fighting. They didn't give up. They didn't fold their tents and say, "All right, we lost. Let's go to the next game." They kept fighting, and the score looked a lot closer than it should have. But all in all, again, this was just a game you figured we were going to lose, and we did. But it's a good measuring stick to know where we stand in the Eastern Conference as we go on. This is a long season. This is only the 3rd game of the season. So I'm pretty sure if they see Brooklyn again, they may improve a little bit more, and they may be able to catch Brooklyn on a bad night.
Yeah, I know Brooklyn came into this game after a loss. They lost to the Hornets yesterday in their home opener. So I think they just kind of wanted to just put the hammer down and move past that. They had started 1-2, and so people were talking about that. And I feel like the Nets just wanted to put the hammer down. I do give the Wizards a lot of credit for not giving up in this game and cutting it down to a reasonable deficit, but ultimately the Nets were just too strong. Tim, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, just looking at the stats, I thought Gafford was one of the better Wizards. The team had a terrible shooting night, and they really did look lost on both offense and defense at times. It was kind of, the defense wasn't terrible, but there were a lot of possessions where they completely lost a guy for a 3 or just gave up a really easy shot. And Harrell had a really bad plus-minus, so not the best game for him. The other thing is kind of crazy is it was another goose egg for Bertans, and that's two scoreless games out of 3. We're paying this guy a lot of money, and he played like 21 minutes and didn't score. Not that he missed a lot of shots, but he's not out there to play defense. Like if you're going to play him, score some points. So that's disappointing. And then I wonder at what point we're going to really start to miss Rui because, games like today where Beal isn't really playing to his normal standard and Kuzma isn't scoring a lot, we don't really have that third scorer now. Like we have a lot of guys that can definitely do it, like Dinwiddie, but it might be nice to have him back. And, we can't really count on Denny or Bertans for a lot of points right now. So it'll be nice to get him back whenever that happens.
Yeah, I'm hoping Rui comes back soon. It's a bummer to not have him out there because, I thought he's really developed nicely over the course of his career. So I was looking forward to seeing him this year, and it's really disappointing that he hasn't played yet. And we haven't really been given an official reason why why he hasn't played yet this season. I know it's personal reason, but we haven't really found out why or what that is. Not to pry into it or anything, but it is interesting. Yeah, you mentioned Bertans, really not a factor in this game at all. Yeah, he got a huge contract from the Wizards last summer. He was really not very good for the team last year, other than a couple moments here and there. So this is a disappointing start for him. Yeah, he's definitely got to step it up. Arun, I'm sure you saw pretty much all this game. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think the Wizards defense is actually pretty good in this game. You told me before the game that Durant was only going to have 25 points and Harden was only going to have 14 points. I actually thought you would think the Wizards would have a good chance of winning, but I think everyone, including Bertans, like Beal, shot poorly from 3. Kyle Kuzma, he shot 5 threes, he missed all of them. Dinwiddie he had to revert back to his averages. He only finished 11 points. So it was pretty much the difference in this game was when Patty Mills came into the game, knocked down a bunch of shots. Wizards the defense didn't really pay attention to him. Even Harden, I don't know. Brooklyn, I picked them to win the title, but they just don't really look ready to start the season. So the Hornets, we mentioned they beat the Pacers. They also beat the Nets. So I guess the Nets were going to play a good defensive game, but Beal with only 19 points. I know he's coming off an injury, but I think he has to do better than that.
Yeah, we forgot to mention, I don't think Bradley Beal played in the Friday night game against the Pacers. So this was his return back to action. And yeah, I like Champ said, I think this was a good measuring stick for the Wizards. You know, the Nets are one of the best teams in the East. Even without Kyrie Irving, this is a really talented squad that's going to be contending for the championship. So you take it all into consideration. To only, like you said, Arun, to only give up 104 points, I think most people would sign up for that, but the offense just wasn't there tonight for the Wizards. And they fall to 2-1. All right, so I figured we could all break down one. They have 4 games coming up this week. I figured we could all break down one, but interestingly enough, they're 4 games, but they're only against 2 opponents. The Wizards on Wednesday will be going to Boston to play the Celtics. That's a 7:30 game. And then they play the next day, the very next day, they return to DC and they play one of my favorite teams, the Atlanta Hawks. That is a 7 o'clock tip-off at Capital One Arena. That's the Thursday game. Then Saturday, they play the Celtics again. This time's in DC. 5 o'clock tip-off on Saturday. And then Monday night on November 1st, while we will be doing the show, there will be a live Wizards game once again against the Hawks. So it's 4 games, 2 opponents. I figure we could each break down one game. I'll go to Arun first, and I'll give you your choice. Do you want to break down the first Celtics game, the second Celtics game, the first Hawks game, the second Hawks game? Which one do you want to break down?
I'll break down the Celtics since I saw a lot of them this past week. And as I mentioned, that New York Knicks game was excellent between.
Indeed, it was.
And Jaylen Brown was great. Tatum, not so much. But overall, the Celtics they lost their first 2 games, one to the Raptors, who everyone thought wasn't that good, but they managed to beat the Hornets tonight by double figures. I think playing against the Rockets, they were able to find their rhythm. So I think the Wizards, this will be a good measuring stick. I think if the Wizards are going to be in the top 8, they're going to have to win at least one of these 2 games against Boston.
Yeah, you mentioned the season opening game, obviously against my beloved New York Knicks that went to double overtime. Jaylen Brown went off in that game. He had 46 points, the most by any Celtic in any opening night game. Still took the L, but still an incredible performance from Jaylen Brown in that game. Yeah, you mentioned their game tonight against the Hornets. That game actually went to overtime, but the Celtics ended up pulling away in the overtime for an eventual victory over Charlotte, who's also gotten off to a good start this year. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how that Celtics matchup goes for the Wizards. I'll go to Champ next. What matchup do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about that October 28th matchup against the Hawks because it's off a back-to-back where you're coming home after being on the road. That absolutely scares me, being that it's a back-to-back where you're coming from Boston, having to travel back to D.C., and then play the very next night. That's a very scary matchup. But I feel like this Wizards team, with this more defensive mindset with Wes Unseld Jr. as their head coach, I think they could do some damage, and they could probably pull out the victory against the Hawks on this one. And by the way, big shout out to Arun getting a pop from Brian mentioning the Knicks on this podcast. I'm just saying. But I think they beat the Hawks on this night.
Yeah, the Hawks are a very tough team. I learned that the hard way during the playoffs last year, that the Hawks are 100% for real. I think we all learned about how good and how young and how talented this Hawks team is during the playoffs last year. They are not anybody to sleep on, and to play them twice in a week is going to be tough. But I could definitely see the Wizards winning one of the 2 games against the Hawks. Tim, I'll go to you next.
I guess I'll break down the next game then against the Celtics. I think this is going to be an interesting game. Not often, do you see a 5 p.m. game. It looks like the Celtics are, going to return to the playoffs yet again. They're still a really good team. Tatum, Brown, they're all great players. They've added a few pieces too. They got Schroeder on a big discount, so that could be a big pickup for them. I do think, though, like the Pacers, teams like that, they're more or less in the same league as the Wizards. I mean, probably a little bit better, but this is a game that you want to win to show that you are for real in the East. And I think in general, these next 4 games, you're playing decent teams. If they could split and go 2-2 and maybe take the home games, that would be a pretty good result. So, the past few years, obviously we had that play-in beatdown loss to the Celtics last year, but the Wizards have played the Celtics pretty tough in general, often much better at home, I would say. So maybe we'll be able to get a little bit of revenge from that game and win at home and show that we're decent.
Yeah, I was going to say the Wizards and Hawks have played some decent matchups over the years. I even remember last year, the game Russell Westbrook broke the all-time record for triple-doubles was against the Hawks. So, I mean, these guys know each other very well. I think the Wizards do have a chance to go 2-2 this entire week. Maybe, like you said, maybe split the home games and the road games. This is going to be a good test for the team, I think. 2 very quality opponents. And we'll see where they stand at the end of it. I'm even impressed with what Wes Unseld Jr. is doing as head coach. He's definitely an upgrade over Scott Brooks. Wet paper bag would be an upgrade over Scott Brooks compared to some of the stuff that happened last season. But still, I think Wes Unseld Jr. is a huge upgrade, and I'm excited to see where this Wizards team goes. So with that, I think we'll turn things back over to Carol. Carol, thank you for letting me host the roundtable. Always a good time. And we'll turn things back over to you.
All right, appreciate that. Go ahead and turn my cam back on. We got a full slate. Go ahead and let everybody get their parting shots before we get out of here. DC's People's Champ, I haven't been on with you in a while. I'm actually got a Raw on right now. We got a 4-way ladder match going on. So I've been catching up with the wrestling, checking out what's been going on. What you got going on your podcast with covering all this great wrestling with all these different leagues now?
Man, listen. So New Japan is currently on the road to Power Struggle. Power Struggle will be early November with 9 matches. It'll be their biggest non-tournament card that they've had since COVID-19 hit. So I'm very excited for that. But they have 3 shows going on this week in Corcoran Hall, which is a legendary venue in Japan, with tomorrow being the final one that's televised with a junior heavyweight tag team championship main event. I will get into that on Saturday, as well as what happened with Impact Wrestling. They had their version of WrestleMania last Saturday with Bound for Glory, with multiple title changes, including a big-time Swerve double championship win in the main event. So we'll get into all of that, myself and Sith, this coming Saturday night, with the No Spots podcast streaming live on Twitch, as well as being uploaded as an audio podcast on Sunday. And you can check out the Partners channel on the Sports on the Hill podcast website to hear the audio of that podcast.
No doubt. Appreciate you jumping on, talking NBA with the fellas. I always appreciate all your insight and your knowledge. And we'll catch you next week when we break down these Wizards again.
Absolutely, Kara. I miss talking to you, my brother, man. Life's gotten in the way, man. We gotta catch up, bro.
Yeah, man, bro. You ain't never lied, man. Trying to sell cars in this market right now, boy. Got me working every day, open and close, trying to get this money, man.
I feel that, bro. But keep grinding, man. Keep grinding.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we definitely gonna get up, man. We're gonna make it happen. All right, Tim, what's going on, good sir? I appreciate you taking the time. I know Monday is a busy day for you. What you got going on, sir?
Oh, no, it's been far too long since I joined and was able to talk to everybody. I missed it. You kind of forget until you get back on the show, and you have a lot of fun. So appreciate you guys having me on again, and I hope we do this on a more regular basis. The only shout-out I can think of is Joe Flacco. Well, you shouldn't be congratulated for going to the Jets, but at least he got traded and he might play again. So he's still relevant somehow, but that just shows the Jets suck and there aren't enough quarterbacks in this league. So I guess, if you stick around and you still have some arm strength, you'll get paid and you'll get a start in New York.
Definitely. New York needs all the help they can get.
Exactly. All right. Well, have a good night, guys.
All right, Tim. Appreciate it, man. Have a good night. Room, what's going on, man? I was waiting for RG3 tidbit. I didn't get one. So what's going on with you and your podcast?
Yeah, not much. I just talked about fantasy football my last podcast. RG3 says they should trade Odell Beckham, so maybe Washington's going to target Odell Beckham. And I don't really want him. He's kind of been pretty bad since he left the Giants. So that's about it for me, and thanks for having me on.
All right, no problem, man. I don't even want to talk about fantasy football, man. I had 2 injuries, and I have some of my key players on bye. I was supposed to win and lost by 20. But I appreciate you taking the time out, man. You enjoy it. We'll catch you next week on the round table.
All right, thanks for having me on.
All right, man. Have a good night. And BrianB, what you got going on? I know you are into the World Series that'll be starting tomorrow night. I guess we'll give a quick
Go Braves.
Couldn't even let me finish, could you? We're gonna give a quick I guess might as well do a quick breakdown of the World Series since we both are on the opposite side of things. You hear Brian rooting for the Braves. I'm rooting for the Astros because I can't stand the Braves or the Dodgers. So either way, I'll be rooting for the AL team. I haven't really, followed AL, but I will be rooting on Houston. Brian will be rooting on the Braves. I can't believe you're rooting for the Braves, Brian. No.
Look, but my option was the Red Sox or the Astros. I was definitely rooting for whoever won the Dodgers-Braves series, and it happened to be the Braves. So I'm rooting for the Braves. Hardcore. All week.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman, I love him as a player. I just hate him because he always finds a way to beat the Nats.
He's a very good player.
Yes,
I've been very impressed with Freddie Freeman this year. I did not know a ton about him, but he's really good.
Oh, being in the NL East and us follow, I know
he's the real deal.
Yeah, I know plenty about. I could have told you that. Freddie Freeman is a great baseball player, and he's a great person all around, and he always kills the Nats. He's a great hitter. Good player, so yeah, it's going to be an interesting World Series. I'm not going to be tuned in as closely as if the Nats were in it again, but I will be rooting on the Astros, and hopefully they could prevent the Braves from bringing a championship to the NL East that isn't Washington Nationals related.
I mean, all I gotta say is let's go Braves. The Astros are cheaters. Every Yankee fan that I know at least is rooting for the Braves. And if you're not a Yankees fan that's rooting for the Braves, you're absolutely insane. Like, the Astros are evil. Like, I hate the Astros. I have nothing else to say. I cannot stand those fuckers.
Said they're evil.
They are evil. I hate them.
All right, what you got going on your podcast besides calling them evil?
So yeah, I've got a World Series. We'll do a World Series preview this week. You go back and listen to the episode that just dropped this Friday. Do an NFL roundtable, NFL, NBA roundtable that came out really good. I'll probably spend a good amount of time this week talking about the Knicks and their 2-1 start. They got wins on Wednesday against the Celtics in double overtime, and on Friday night they blew out the Orlando Magic. But unfortunately, on Sunday night, they followed it up with a loss to the Orlando Magic. So I'll talk about all that, plus the games they play against the Sixers and Bulls this week. Looking forward to all of it. CP3, thanks for having me on, man. It's always a good time.
Hey, man, no problem. Appreciate you taking the time and filling in for Robbie and hosting the NBA Roundtable. I appreciate it. And we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night, man.
All right, you too. All right, we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap episode 246 up. As always, it's been a great show. I appreciate everyone tuning in, checking us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. As always, you can check out our content on sportsothp.com. All of our shows, archive videos, highlight videos, podcast partners, Sports OTHP apparel line. Wintertime's coming. We got sweats, we got tees, blankets, hoodies. We got it all. Go check out the website. Click on it. Help support the movement. You can hit me up for the Sports OTHP apparel. Partnering up with Eric Kusa, working on getting some sweatsuits done up by them also. If you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, come check me out down at Waldorf Honda, 2450 Crane Highway, Waldorf, Maryland. If you're trying to get that deal done, hit me up. Come down there and we'll make sure we take good care of you. Make sure you check out At the Bar Radio next Sunday around 6 o'clock. We took off this past week, but we'll be back next week as always, bringing you the best current events, news, politics, sports, entertainment news, and the best independent music around, along with the best independent music videos around, which I'm about to finish the show up with now. As always, you know I'm going to have Renegade 703. Make sure you check them out. Go follow them. Got a lot of good things going on, a lot of big things in the works. And just make sure you tune in. DC Sports about the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. See you next week. We out.
I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in the village, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweating my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. Ain't been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in the village, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweating my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. Ain't been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. But I dish it like I give it and go. Counting money while I chill at the stove. How I deliver, I've been at the dough. It's up to you how business will go. That 36 I get for the look. Count it up, no feelings will show. Spend so much, gotta get it some more. When they hands out, I just give up a no. How they always talk about me, but a nigga stand out. Watch out how you really walk up to me, that's a man down. All these niggas got these drums with them like a band now. I've been doing what I want, that's what you can't doubt. I've been just feeling myself. Do I just really need help? I got my weight up. I be just telling myself I got love for all of my dogs. I take a pay cut. Some niggas really gon' ride. Some niggas really gon' slide. So go say a prayer. We ain't never gotta slap five. Nigga, just pay your tithes and call me the mayor. I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in the village, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweating my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. Ain't been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past. I gotta wake up and go get the bread. I gotta go ahead and clip up the smash. She all in the village, she giving me sex. I got a slack, sweating my ass. Count up on a move, that's a digital dash. Ain't been just losing, I'm living these fads. Never go broke cause I got me a stash. I could never ever live in the past.
Clean man. Yo, blackout, you know, we have them get a blackout. I think I already know one. That's good. Come and tell us I'm a body. Anything me see on me put on me fresh. Me do me try on me put on me done. Image a crime for someone she line. If she tell you she fine, cause she tell me a dumb. Look what me got on in a TV breast. The pain of me make every neck a ton. If in your mind you got style, you're blind. Just check out to fly when you're done. Anyway, she see me at the so she want to forgive me. Cause me fresh, me next to chilly. I'ma beat it for you. Never been in the Philly, but me got a gal a Philly. Can this gal if she got secret for you? Valentino wanna bop it with a buckle. I see rockin' on me and I just swag on me team it there. But the fuck that the mathematic up in on me and I'm no afraid to squeeze. Cause the killer them out and bad. Anything me see on me put on me fresh. Me do me try on me put on me done. Image a crime for someone she line. If she tell you she fine, cause she tell me a dumb. Look what me got on in a TV breast. The pain of me make every neck a ton. If in your mind you got style, you're blind. Just check out to fly when you're done. Dress up in a Fendi, feel me gal no look like Wendy. Me buy my own, cause me trendy, nobody no lend me. Me nigga them that buy me right, and me gal no left me not a spot in a this spotlight. When she tell me, and me a Scorpio fully, me now go take the bully mine. Know you want talk to me nigga, them call we psychopathic. She a dance fan body, me see gal a stucky better must come when me call me quick fi move on. Anything me see on me put on me fresh. Me do me try on me put on me done. Image a crime for someone she line. If she tell you she fine, cause she tell me a dumb. Look what me got on in a TV breast. The pain of me make every neck a ton. If in your mind you got style, you're blind. Just check out to fly when you're done. Yo, Jaden. Yo, Yo, Lucky Six, Ashley. Yo, so sad that. I think I already know one. Yes, just go it. Just go it. Alisa, pick up yourself. Yes. Anything me see on, me put on me fresh. Me deal with try on, me put on me done. Image a crime for someone, she lying if she tell you she fine, cause she tell me a dumb. Look what me got on in a TV press. The pain of me make every neck a turn. If in your mind you got style, you're blind, just check out how fly when you're done.
Money. I love that money.
Lucas.
Money. You don't really want to play. Money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you've been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. It's money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money's what I'm talking about. Money, make you shut him off. Don't never ever talk about it if you never had the clout. You don't know what to say. Stay up out of my way. Cause money, make me shut him off. Keep playing with the Goonies, boy, I'm gonna have to make the call. Stay in bounds on your pivot, boy, if you gon' ball. Cause a lot of niggas be fake, and you really can't play. Cause we done got it out the mud, nigga, what you talking about? Screaming, oh my God, money got me pride. They living a lie, look into my eyes, they might seem surprised, this is homicide. We just multiply, we been on the rise. If we got some wings, fuck it, we gon' have to fly. Money, what we talking about? Day in my life, take me a different route. And use all my cash, niggas on my face. You can get erased, what you talking about? Money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money's what I'm talking about. You never crossing these borders. I'm whipping it up, Gordon Ramsay. I swear that I'm cooking these orders. You talk about me, you better just hope that you can just really afford it. I'm balling, I'm winning. I'm feeling like Robert Horry. Nigga, I'm scoring. I count in the morning. They talk about me, then I gotta ignore it. My bitches be foreign. So independent, my money be corporate. These rappers is boring. You hate me and I'm always gonna adore it. I'm smoking that soaring. She always go ahead and let me explore it. I call her my Dora. You can go and talk about me, I ain't flawless. I go put my all in. If a nigga talk about me, then I'm gone in. You know that I'm gone in. Jump in, take trips, Pompeii. All day, always keep 3 stacks like Andre. I get it, man. And you can never, ever get rid of that. So watch what you say, and watch how you do. If you playing the game, then you play by the rules. Money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. And you don't really want to play. You don't know what to say. Cause money's what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't wanna be the one who always really talk about. And you don't really won't play. You don't know what to say. Cause money, 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 money is what I'm talking about.
Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know, I know, I know, I know, and I'm here, and you know it, it's all just the same, and I know it's gonna be disco. Take me to a place where everybody learns, where everybody sees, where everybody shows their love. I didn't think so. You know, that's why I always champagne for you or me. I really didn't think so. I take a promise, I give it some love, I make a wish upon a star. You know you gotta get it right. You know you gotta get it right. Ooh. Every little thing counts now. Every little bitty thing. Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know, I know, I know, I know, and I'm here, and you know it, it's all just the same, and I know it's gonna be disco. It'd be so cool just to celebrate all the love and all the hate that's going down. It's gotta stop, we've had enough. Why can't we just live together? Peace, love, and harmony is what this world needs forever. Can you hear me? I am calling now out your name, and now I know, I know, I know, I know. Can you hear me? I am calling out your name.
A few years ago, I told myself I'd be the next big thing in the industry. See, the game is simple. Life has its way to show us that anything is possible. The power of the tongue, which has the ability to be detrimental or beneficial. Was it beneficial? I'll leave that one up to y'all. This is my story from me to you.
You're listening to this song right now. I'm speaking specifically to you. I want to give you my testimony and tell you a little bit about myself, if you don't mind. Coming from nothing but a little struggle and pain. Crazy how we can all turn around for you and change. I done seen a lot of things in the street, wrong danger to me. Hustling with them niggas that was no good for me, but I never gave up. 10 toes the nights when the opposition got sprayed up. Trying to see a sunny day, all I get is rainy days. Screaming free my dogs and the loved ones who ain't here today. Yeah, I miss you, wanna kiss you, wanna hug you and hold you, won't forget you. All my life I've been misunderstood, just a little nigga trying to get up out the hood. And this thing we call poverty, but that's all inside of me. Used to cry myself to sleep, but strong I gotta be. Now I'm on TV, I done made it out the street. Troubled child turned the streams to reality. See, I knew that I would get there all along. Listen to the words of the song. This is my story from me to you. All I wanna do is just give you my truth. All I really want, promise to keep this just between me and you. Just between me and you, yeah. And you can do anything, just believe in your dreams will come true. Who would've thought that we would come up like we did? Running around on Upland Street, man, I never forget. They told us we was bad, always getting in some shit. Breaking windows from throwing rocks, but we was just being kids. And smoking at the park, coming in after dark. Rolling with dumb thug niggas, reckless with no heart. Sexing on them, hood rats addicted from the start. Trapping and catching cases, ghetto life is so hard. Coming from a broken home, left me all alone. Neglected as a child with nothing to call my own. But now that I'm good, now that I'm paid, I'm shining, everything is okay. This is my story from me to you. All I wanna do is just give you my truth. I'm giving you my truth with your enemy. Promise to keep this just between me and you. Don't you tell nobody no. And you can do anything, just believe in your dreams will come true. So yeah, this is a to B conversation. And with great faith, you can see your way out of anything.
Want to score big at the grill? Don't forget the bubbly.
And I've been sitting here for a long time. The sound of my heartbeat goes mad. And I've been sitting here for a long time. I know it ain't time to be sad, 'cause we'll be knowing each other soon. Cherry blossoms in the summer, you cherish it till we bloom. And let me know your phone number, 'cause I want you, and I want you, I want you to stay here with me, even though we just met. Our eyes always see things that are meant to